Hello, I'm glad all of you are joining us today. We're going to talk about a big subject. And this is the same presentation that I recently gave for our Parent on Point, which is a time when all of, as you know, we come together and we learn about the things that are important to our families. And this is a replay just for you because it's important that we can listen to this kind of stuff in our own time and take it in and digest it. And internet safety is such a big subject. There's lots of different directions that I could have gone with this presentation. And to be honest, when I was asked to talk about it, I was surprised at how challenging it was for me to really put this presentation together. I wanted it to be something that was from my heart, that taught some values that we can give, but I found myself second guessing. And I think the reason why is because I'm a parent too. And I come across the same dilemmas that every single parent comes across when it comes to internet safety. Um, I remember that there was a day when I went into my daughter's room and she was in tears and she was bawling. And she said, "Everyone in my entire volleyball team hates me. I never want to show my face again. How could they hate me this much? I thought we were friends." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "It's in the chat room." I said, "Let me see that chat room." Of course, she doesn't want to show me. And I look at it and I see these same girls that she plays volleyball with on her team every day, just slandering her and joking. And I see memes and I'm thinking, what is this language that I'm reading? And here I am in a dilemma like so many of us face. What do I do? Do we stay in the chat room? Do we take her out of the chat room? Do I talk to everyone involved and blow it up? What do I do? I don't know if I made the right choice in that case, because sometimes each case is different. She stayed in that chat room. I helped her manage it. And we worked with her to be able to balance her in person and online communication. But I'll tell you, raising three girls, there was many cases when it wasn't as simple as friends that she knew in person making fun of her. And there was lots of judgment calls that need to be made. And I know you're in front of that all the time. And I'm sensitive about that. The truth is that protecting our children online is a priority for every family. The goal of our providers that give us these devices is to keep us logged on, not to keep us safe. They want us to stay on their app, stay on their device. And when they sit around the table, that's what they're talking about. The safety measures that they put up are just kind of to be compliant. And that's just business. But we need to be aware of that because then we know that it's our responsibility to dig and find the measures that will keep our kids safe and how we might do that. Because it's true that Google and all of the big companies have resources out there when you dig. But when you go over to, say, Verizon to pick up a phone, they're not going to say, "Hey, are you getting this for your kid? Let me tell you all the devices for safety." That's a subject they might talk about, but they're more interested in keeping your kid on that phone so then they'll want to buy the next one. It's important that we understand that it's our responsibility and also to understand that we're in a technological world, aren't we? It's here to stay. It's part of our life. The American the American Family Survey of 2023 found that social media use among kids of 10 to 18 is nearly universal. It's 96% of all of the parents said that their kids have at least one device and are on at least one social media platform. 66% of those parents said that their children are on Instagram, 63 on TikTok, 61 on YouTube. And that was in December of 2023. So you're not alone. If your kid's on these things, there's no judgment. And I mentioned earlier, who am I to judge? Your values are your values, and your family, the way you run your family is yours. I wouldn't tell you when to have your kids spend the night. I might tell you sit at another person's house, say for a sleepover. That's something that every single parent seems to have a little bit different view about. And I don't believe we should judge people for that. I wouldn't come and say, oh, you're too strict or you're too lenient. Why would I do that with our phones or our media? It's an individual choice. But know that people are worried about it. That's for sure. 71%, and according to this little survey here, are concerned. Many people don't know where to go to get help for their kids being on the screen so much. And according to this survey, most people are going to their doctors. And then sometimes we're going to other parents, we're going online, we're trying to figure out how can we face this dilemma. And that's because we know that there's a dark side. There's a dark side that we need to be ready to face and not pretend like it's not happening just because we're not always seeing it. Anxiety is developing in the minds. Too often, we are realizing too late that our kids were involved in something that was too big for them. It wasn't age appropriate, and they tried to figure it out on their own. It's so common that parents sit down in front of us educators and they say, "Ah, well, I've talked to them about that, but I figured they had it solved." And then they're being confronted with terrible pictures or anxiety issues because they've put all of their energy into whether their posts will be liked. And too much too early can cause overwhelm in a young mind. And we just need to realize that. What makes it even more challenging is that as kids grow older, they look at the things that they have on their phone and on their devices, and they look at more and more because they think they can handle it. They think they're ready. And weren't we all just the same way? Think about when you went out and rode your bike and you saw a jump, and maybe your parents said, "Don't do that jump. It's way too challenging for you." What did you think? I got this. And then you jump the jump, break your arm. Your mom says, "I told you you couldn't do that jump." This is what kids are doing online. They're saying, "I can handle this chat room. I can handle this group of people. Yeah, there's some inappropriate things, some racist, some pictures I shouldn't see, maybe some nudity, but I know how to take care of that." But they're not developmentally ready. They're not at the age where their mind has even developed to the point of reasoning in a way that can handle these complex and really jarring issues. And they react still. They haven't learned how to think before they react. And they get themselves in hot water, and their only thought is, I need to hide that I even got into this mess. And then they don't talk about what they need to talk about. See, it's important to understand that all of this is a part of anxiety. I don't blame the internet or video games for the anxiety generation, as some people might say. Then they're putting the strong correlation to how often and how frequently kids are online. But I do know that it has something to do with it because it's confusing for them. We process online communication in the mind, not out loud. And thoughts are powerful. Thoughts will dictate our emotion and our actions. It starts up in our mind before we ever talk about it with a parent, anybody. And then the thought grows and grows until pretty soon they just kind of try out a little naughty thing out loud. And maybe it never is out loud. See, these things are complicated, but well, I want to just be upfront with you because this is what I see. I've been a counselor for 20 years. I've been a counselor with elementary, with middle school, with high school, with college. I've been a parent coach for years. And there's never a time when this problem isn't brought up in any year that I've ever worked in this field. And here's some of the big problems that I see. Sometimes people develop a disconnect to real life. Each one of these things I'm going to talk about right now are not just for young children, not at all. It's for middle schoolers, high schools, college students. Those of you that might be tuning in that have spent any time online can identify with at least one of these. And this disconnect to real life happens when the thing that we're doing online seems brighter than what we're doing in real life. And as that happens consistently, our mind processes that and takes that information in and then believes what it is the input that's coming in. Our big computer brain is really taking information, processing it, and then validating it and moving forward with that. And the more that the joy that they find, or the happiness, or the jokes and the laughing, and really the entertainment that we all love so much is the best part of their day, maybe, then this disconnect happens where there's a brightness when they're online and a disconnect when they're in real life. When we know that that can happen, we can be aware of it. If we see it happening with our kids, the last thing we want to do is say what we probably say is, that's too much of that video game. Get off that game. It's just ruining your brain. Instead, we want to say, I've noticed a little disconnect. Are we getting enough sunshine? Let's go out and hike. Let's reevaluate the time that you're spending in the day. Comparison to others is another huge thing. Kids come to me after a long time of comparing to certain websites and posts that they're on. Um, Most recently, a child had said that she was hardly eating, and and that choice was validated by people that she found online, which leads us to the next concern: validation that creates confirmation. This can happen in chat rooms, on scrolling, in gaming, anywhere really online. And the fear in that is that as we're teaching and training our kids, that's you, just one person, maybe a few people in your family. But sometimes a child has a question about something they heard and they wonder if it's true. And when they log on online, they might find 10 articles, 20, 1,000 different people that have commented that are saying that that thing, whatever that is or belief, is true. And that begins to create a confirmation within their mind, like we just talked about. That confirmation is huge because by the time your child actually gets the courage or the desire to talk to you about it, many times their belief is already firmly cemented in their brain. And it doesn't mean that it can't change, but it's a lot harder to backpedal when their mind is saying, yeah, but you saw all those people that believed this was true and were having fun with whatever it is. It might be a belief about um, it could be religion, it could be a way of living, it could be what's important, what's not important. It could be as little as whether you should go to college or not, and as big as um, whether you should respect what your parents teach you. It can be serious. And kids many times will hide that this is happening, and we assume that it's because they want to be sneaky. But many times it's because they think they can handle it. They don't want to bug you. They don't want to be looked at as wrong. They don't want to possibly uncover something, and communication seems pointless. They'll just handle it. There's a far reach, and that's another big problem that they don't understand. One comment has 10x, I could say 100x results. And man, many of us forget that. We think this is going to be so hilarious. We don't think about what might happen because we did that. Hey, there's grown adults that are trolling, and they find it their best form of entertainment is finding posts that they can cause turmoil about. If a kid is being bullied in their classroom, it will have a certain reach around them and maybe a little outside their school. But one comment that maybe wasn't even meant to be anything but jokey, but was mean or slandering, can be saved and recommented and made into a TikTok and then joked about. And the years later, it can be brought up again. Oh, remember what they said about you? It's a different level. And yes, this pervasive, ongoing, that one comment continuing makes bullying a whole new ballgame when it's online. We need to help our kids to be able to understand what they type matters, and they need to remember that and help them deal with this problem when they're on the other side of it. to be able to know that they matter and how they can combat that. But if we just think, oh, it was just one comment, ignore it, not so easy online. Awareness before that they're developmentally ready. Full awareness. They're like become aware and they become enlightened about a subject that they're not developmentally ready for. And it causes this huge conflict within their brain and their mind, and stress and anxiety grows. These are the issues I thought of. I'm sure that there's many others. And with great power, though, becomes great responsibility. And let's turn the corner for the next few minutes of this to say, what can we do about this? We can't stop this from happening, but what can we do? Well, we can take on this responsibility and know that there are things that we can do, and we want to make a difference. We make a difference by helping the child the power of having control over this themselves. If they're always leaning on you, what are they going to do when you're not there? Maybe if you're lucky and they're not too old, your little voice might pop in their mind. But likely, if you're their beacon of their compass, then they're not going to be able to have ownership over their own decisions, and they just want to hide any negative decision that they made. No, we want to open up our communication. We want to ask, listen, help. We want to make sure that they feel in that they can and that they will make the right choice. And when they do, we can celebrate. And when they mess up, we're here for them, not to be judgmental and say, this is ridiculous, everything's gone, but to say, what were the steps that got you there? What do you think that you could do instead? The same problem solving that you would do face to face. Assume that your child will be in a moral and ethical dilemma, just like they do face to face, and then progress in that manner with your kids. And how can we safeguard them against this? I think the very best way that we can safeguard against this is by really knowing our core values for our family and living out those values exactly the same way online that we would in person, and encouraging them to do the same. If you're teaching them the way that they, when they go to a friend's house, let's say you want to know when they're coming home and who's there and what adult is there, and touch bases with them, and you have certain things that they need to do when they get there and get a hold of you. Are we having those same type of standards when they're online? Show me where you're at. What app is it? I want to read all about it. Let's discuss it together. I need to be aware of when you're on and when you're off. This is very simple to enforce if you have core values that you're leaning on. You're not changing it up on them or taking away their ability to have fun. You're saying, hey, within fun, we still keep with our values. We still practice that. What are your family values? If you don't know, it's time to sit down and think about it, because it matters a lot. It matters when they're in their room and they're chilling and you're like, oh, they're just in their room chilling. They're actually talking to maybe hundreds of people, playing a game that you allowed them to play. Are they having their family values then? Talking about how when you're in your room and the door is closed, it seems private, but it's not actually private. And having them truly understand what it means to have a good reputation and what it means to have a good reputation online. Having the same expectations in person and online is huge, because there is an amazing amount of colleges. The last statistic I read was that 75% of the colleges are looking in on their social media before they make their final decisions of whether they're going to be a part of their programs. With sports, I believe that's got to be higher, because they want to see the kids playing the sport. It's very common for them to be like, well, let me see your Instagram about your basketball, your volleyball, whatever it might be. And these kids need to be able to know that my reputation online matters. And we need to use these powers for the good. And we can do it when our core values are in place. Kids say, I want to start a YouTube channel. You'd be like, cool. Well, does it fall in line with their family values? How is it going to help you? What is the reason for it? If my daughter was to start something that would help her further her career in volleyball, which she loves, I would be all for that. If she wanted to start something that looks at other videos and points out the things that are funny. Not so much. Family values is what makes the difference in that. What are your core values? Is it honesty? Is it trust? Is it respect, responsibility, integrity? It's time we decide that, and then we live by it 100%. Now, questions are powerful. And for us to really continue with this line of thinking, we need to know what we can do. And we can ask questions all the time for our kids to be thinking about what is their best choice. I talked about how they need to take ownership. And here are some questions that you can ask them to be able to say, who might be able to read this? Is one question. Have you asked yourself that? If you want your kids to think before they post online, it starts with you asking them questions. And you can tell them that you need to ask yourself these same things. This is just basically good skills online, right? Could somebody misinterpret what I'm saying? Am I showing a bad side of myself? Am I revealing too much about myself? Could somebody feel disrespected? Am I posting in anger? These are the things we need to think about before we post, and these are the things we need to teach. So, focusing on solutions. I believe that being solution focused is the way that we can right so many wrongs in our society. Yes, we need to be honest about the problems that exist, but to every problem, there is a solution, and we need to look for what's helpful, hopeful, and click on that. Be involved with our kids, play online, stay involved. Even if you've taught something and you think they're good or it's boring to you, stay involved with them. And I want to say that you got this, because it might feel so overwhelming. If you are reacting to everything in fear, you're not going to be able to show your best self. So breathe and come at your child with the same type of understanding that you hope people come to you with, realizing that they want you to see the best side of them. Many times parents will be shocked when their kids haven't shared things with them, or I have a situation where a kid says one thing to their parent, and that's a totally different thing is what's happening at school. We think, oh, they're liars. Are they though? Or are they doing what all of us do? Would you go up to your boss and tell them about the thing that you screwed up? You're like hoping they don't notice that at all. You're saying, look over here at my win. Look at the thing I did well. That's what I want you to notice. That is the way your kids are with you. Might not admit it is true. They want you to see the best in them. So the way that you can do that is by being solution oriented and saying, I know that I believe in you. I know you have great intentions. I know your reasons for being online is because you want to be social and have friends. I know you can do the things that can elevate your life, as far as whether it be a YouTube channel about your sport, whatever it might be. You believe in them and you come at them with a sense of, we are in this together and I am on your side. And I want you to make a mistake and know that you can change that. If there's consequences for your mistake, own up to it. Let's talk about it. And let's not end the conversation with punishment. Let's end the conversation with a solution focused talk that knows what they need to do next. Or they'll get themselves in the same hot water again. They'll just hide it better. So, parents, let's join in with this fight and know that with great power comes great responsibility, and allow our kids to communicate with us in a brand new way, because then we can find the real solutions. When they can come to you, as my kids have, and said, oh, something horrible happened. I read this. I saw this. I'm confused by this. And you don't just say, this is ridiculous. Throw away your device. But you say, okay, let's talk about this. What happened? How can we solve it? How can it be different next time? We do have the power to fix this, guys, because technology is here to stay, and you are the one that will make a difference. Thank you so much for listening. You can reach out and talk to me about these things in a simple coaching conversation or a counseling conversation here at my school. And that's because we want to be safe and healthy. So it's time for me to get going. Until next time, live solution focused. Bye bye.